and then be productive in our lives as we pursue our relationship with Him. We get the concept of abiding or continuing in the presence because we understand what we know and see, as opposed to turning away from the presence of Yahweh Elohim because we think that we know or see, but are not doing so in truth. This is very important in our walk with Yahuwah, our Elohim. We must build a relationship with Him based on His word and not on our unproven understanding of it. If it cannot be confirmed in the Torah, then it requires a really good second look to consider whether or not we really want to continue in that belief. You know, there's a lot of people that study, and I noticed this, and it's kind of frustrating that in some of the classes that I've taught, that you can teach them this, and this is, here it is in the Torah. This is from the Hebrew that we just dug a little deeper to find out. It says you have to make changes. If something that you believe is not coinciding or is not confirmed in the Torah, you have to let it go. And it amazes me how many people will learn that something that they're doing goes contrary to the instruction of Elohim, but they won't let it go because it's easier to stay in it than to try to explain over and over and over why they're not doing it anymore. So, but anyway, we are always inside of Yahweh Elohim, and it is up to us to be able to perceive His presence, learn from His presence, and be able to distinguish what comes from Him, distinguish what comes from Him from that is born in our carnal mind. We must again be able to see and know what we believe, as opposed to thinking that we know what we believe. So, some ideas that we put together from the words in that first verse that kind of gave us an overall explanation that we have to understand the word of Elohim in order to walk with Him. And if we find something in our walk that we've been doing all along that doesn't correspond, then we have to let it go and replace it with something that's true. Which takes us to verse 17. The 17th letter of the Aleph Beit is Pei, that means presence. So it is according to our perception that we are either moving towards Yahweh Elohim according to, on account of, and concerning His instruction and guidance, or we are moving against it. We can also be in tune to recognize the spiritual condition of others, and in doing so lovingly help them to find the door to life that is the Torah, also called Yahshua, the word of Yahweh that brings redemption, deliverance, and restoration to those who will believe and receive, and bring them the hope of redemption, deliverance, and from bondage, and restoration in the name of Yahweh, which again is known as Yahshua. It's a mouthful. But we can help others, lovingly help others to open their eyes and find their way. This isn't to bash people over the head and be judgmental. This is to say, I'm going to lovingly help you. I'm not going to bash your measure of faith. Everybody has a measure of faith. But I am going to gently plant seeds within your measure of faith that are going to get you to thinking, so that you come to a point where if there are things in your life that you need to make teshuvah, that you will make teshuvah. So, just like Yehezekiel was being strengthened, we're also being strengthened in order to help others. He was being strengthened to go to the children of Israel who were in bondage. We're being strengthened so we can love our neighbor as ourselves. And I probably jumped ahead of myself, but the way to life is to not walk without the guidance and the instruction of Yahweh Elohim, but to be assembled to and surrounded by it as we proceed on this way of life, dwelling in the presence of Yahuwah our Elohim. Now, we say that we are in Yahuwah Elohim. One of the names of Yahweh is Makom, that means the place, and we find our place within him. We find our place within his heart, like we've said. The first and the last letters of Torah spell Leb, which is heart. And right there in the very middle of Torah, the very center word, is an enlarged Vav that represents you and I. So we find ourselves within Yahuwah Elohim. Now, this way of life is that of a shlachim. We use the word apostle. The Aramaic word is shlachim. In fact, the Hebrew word is shlachim, which means an emissary of Elohim. If we are to love Yahuwah with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, then we must love our neighbors as ourselves. And in this way, we live the Shema that we proclaim. And we've talked about the Shema a number of times, that it's not simply to hear, but it is to perceive, to be able to discern what it says, understand it, then make the choice to obey or not, but hopefully to obey it, apply it to our lives, and be content, Shema Yisrael, that Elohim prevails, that Elohim is greater than we are. Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah, the name that means in everything there is, was, and will be today, yesterday, and tomorrow, that in everything he is Eloheinu, our Elohim, our mighty judge, who has the authority to bring us redemption, deliverance, restoration, and rest, again, or not. And that Yahuwah is Echad, again, that he is in unity with us, and we are in unity with him, if we choose to be. Ultimately, he has provided everything. We simply have to choose to believe and receive. So, we're building tools to strengthen us. Not only to strengthen us, but also to move towards others around us that are going to need that helping hand. So, it's really, I found it really kind of cool the way that the 16th and 17th verse, that we see the ayin and the pei together. So, but there we go. Next week we're going to talk about the eyes and the wheels in verse 18. So, and we're going to do this on Tuesdays, and we're going to go back to the parasha on Fridays, since we're getting so close to verse 28 now. 10 more verses. Woohoo! We'll be there. But any questions on this? All right. Well, grooviness has been achieved.